Hey everybody, and welcome back. We're going to be working on a couple of different things today. Trying to get the two that are our runners, these two right here, kind of buttoned up. This one needs some steering adjustment. That one still needs the brakes dialed in a little bit more. I took it out yesterday, and they're just not quite to my liking. So we may have to adjust a little bit of the rod that goes into the master cylinder and give myself a little more pedal. It's just not quite where I want it. This one also needs a brake adjustment. We didn't adjust them at all last year. It did really well, but they're starting to get a little bit, I'm sure the pads are just getting a little bit worn. And another thing we're going to work on is a couple of weeks ago, we purchased this swamp cooler, what is to mimic the old style swamp coolers off of Ecofage. I'm not sure how you say it, but he has a YouTube channel, and I'll put a link to his channel here. And I remembered he made these, and we found them on Etsy, and we ordered one. And he uses like a dog bowl or a salad bowl or something for the front. But they're supposed to mimic the old style swamp cooler air conditioning. Poor man's air conditioning, I guess. But inside, if you lift this up, there's a tray. And we'll take this out too, and I'll show you how it's made. There's a tray with a filter in it, and you can add water or ice, dry ice, or whatever you want for your air conditioning unit. Very well made. I'm pretty impressed with the quality of the build. And he just uses a stovepipe cap on the end. Pretty clever, really. So we're going to take that off of there. I'm going to put you on a tripod so that we don't dump it, because it's kind of a two-man job here. But it just sits on the window ledge. I'll show you. So this one is 18 inches in length, and it's a little bit long for a Beetle. It fits perfect, but there's a little spot down here. We're going to put a little felt washer on it just to keep it from kind of damaging it. But you'll notice there's some rust, little handprints from me, most likely, on there. My hands were probably oily down there. So it just comes as raw steel. So I'm going to go in, kind of sand this down. There's another big handprint there, big grubby paws, probably mine. We're going to sand it down and paint it with like that hammered paint, that hammered metal paint. But yeah, pretty cool little build that he comes up with. So this just fits on the window, and then you roll the window up and it catches on that lip. So pretty cool product. So we're going to go paint that up, and while the paint's drying, we're going to work on getting these other two kind of buttoned up and ready for summer. So I've sanded everything down on it and then metal prepped it with a metal etch. And this is what I'm going to use. Rust-Oleum, hammered, and this one is silver. So let's see what we can come up with. And we have just enough wind today. It's blowing right back on the camera, so I moved you back a little bit. We'll let that get a little tacky, and then we'll go back over it again. I went ahead and taped off all the parts that were aluminum and that little grating, and then it is sitting on the vented cone area because that's kind of a chrome. So I'm going to leave that as is and not paint it, and that way I could stand it on in. And I painted this little bit right here first, and then we stood it on in, and we're about to get it, aren't we, buddy? High five. Fist bump. Alright. So I'm up under the double cab, and we just adjusted the pedal back a little bit, the rod that goes into the master cylinder. And if yours is seized up, you probably have to unbolt the master cylinder and take this out, which is what I just did with mine. But you should be able to adjust it with it in the bus. You just loosen this bolt, and then you're going to turn that rod. And I turned it so that it gave us just a little bit more rod in there. But I took that all out, gooped it up with some anti-seize, so we should be able to adjust it now without taking out the master cylinder bolts and taking the whole thing out. So should be in good shape now. Haven't driven it yet, but we have significantly more pedal, and I just moved it about 2 full turns, maybe not even quite. So it doesn't take much. I think we're in business on this one. Just tidying up a few loose ends on this one, and this was the piece of trim that was on there. And if I put them even, you can see it's too long. So we can put the Wolfsburg crust that goes down here, but found a piece of shorter trim, and I'm pretty sure it's the correct trim because it has the notch. You probably can't see that, but there's a notch right there where the little bracket for the crust goes. So this is what will go there, and this little piece here goes up under, excuse me, that piece of trim, like that. So this is definitely the right hood strip. I don't know what we had in there before, just out of the pile of junk we had. But the problem is someone has welded, closed, and bonded over the crust holes, if you look on the back side. And these have these little pins you just put in and then bend. So I've marked where those are with a, you can't really see it, right there's one, and right there is one. And I'm going to cut those little slits out with a little Dremel tool, and then we're going to put the crust back on this beetle. It hasn't ever been on there since we've owned it. It's about time. So what happens if I mess up? Well, I guess I get to re-weld it and try again. I don't know if this thing's going to do that great, but just using one of these little Dremel metal wheels. Oh, this says plastic on it. Ruh-roh. Glad I looked at that. Probably should go get a different wheel. Yeah, here's what's left of the metal one I have. Hopefully, there's enough there to get us. I know, this thing sounds terrible, but it still cuts. I thought I was acting a little wobber-jawed. It's in the cullet crooked. Probably should fix that, huh? Well, it wasn't in there crooked. It is bent. So, gotta go find another one of those. Almost through, but you know how when you use one of those cutoff wheels, your cut just keeps getting a little deeper. And I'm pretty close to being where we need to be, so I'm just taking a drill bit. Yeah, buddy.
There's a yellow jacket next to my brother.
Oh, well, just tell him to go buzz off. You won't buzz off? Did you buzz him off? Alright. That one looks good. This one just needs a little bit more. That should do it. Nothing like cutting the holes in a perfectly good hood. Not quite as scary as cutting holes in the nose of the bus. Somebody had done the same thing to the bus. It was bonded over the factory holes. Get that where we look kind of even. And the posts on the crest are kind of tapered, so they get a little bit fatter. So as you push it in, it does get a little bit tighter. Looks pretty good. I think that's good. Let's bend it over. Why do I keep saying that's good? Because my motto for the year is see the good. Don't you remember all those pickle chips I made? That feels good. I'm going to ping the tabs over all the way, but I like it. And we came through about your pickle chips? About where the booger welds were on the bottom. So I'd say we came pretty close right here to where it was originally. Yeah, that looks a little better. Ruby's now a real beetle. So I took the bus out for a drive, and the turn signals were not working. The relay for that is right here. I took that off, turned the key on, flipped the turn signal, and they started working. I don't know what I did. Threatened to fix it, I guess. I can't get it to break now. But the flasher in the speedometer wasn't working either. So it was kind of hard to tell if my turn signals were on or not. And when I got behind a car, I was trying to, see my reflection to see if I could see it. Nope, couldn't see anything. So there's one of those little dash light bulbs back here. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Right on the top of the Speedo. That little guy right there. I pulled that off. Now I'm not going to be able to do it one-handed. Hang on. So they look like that. These little dash bulbs. And they're spring-loaded. So you just push down on it and turn. And I was getting... the voltmeter was testing good, getting a signal on the bulb itself. And if you looked at it, it didn't look like it was burnt out. So I was like, So I tested the bulb. Got a signal. And tested it with it in the casing, and nothing. So I took a little bit of sandpaper and just kind of filed the inner housing, filed the end of it where the spade clip goes on, and I think we fixed it. So let me hook that back up. We were working when I had it just sitting here. Let me get that hook back up. So it'll be hard for me to show where that goes, but on the speedometer there's a hole that sticks out pretty much right where that blinker is. You just kind of have to go by feel without knocking anything else loose and stick it back in there. So I don't know if we are fixed or not, but let's see. It'd be nice if that was all it was, just corrosion. Look at that. Fixed. Now mine blink orange because the green cellophane has fallen back behind on the Speedo, but fixed. And I have no idea. The relay must have had a loose wire or something, and when I just moved that board, the front kickboard, it must have just bumped it back into place or something. I checked all those and made sure all the spade clips were good. I don't know. I don't know what happened, but it's self-healed. I threatened to fix it, and it self-healed. So we have fried eggs in working order. I guess we should probably make sure both of them work, huh? That's good, because I don't want to buy a new flasher. They're a lot more expensive in a bus than they are in a Beetle. Fixed! Okay, one problem more is checked off the list. Thought I'd show this real quick too. I guess I should shut those off. The rust is really starting to come on now. So I think that's probably at about a stopping point where we need to stop it. I drove this thing in town today and people kind of kept running up on me, and I was like, man, it makes me nervous when people do that. Well, part of that was I didn't have any turn signals, so I didn't know what I was doing. But we're fixed now. We're all good to go. I think we are pretty well buttoned up. We need to make sure the spare tire is aired up in this bus. Getting ready to take a relatively long trip in the Beetles. Doesn't look too bad. The hammered stuff's kind of hard to see in this light, but you can kind of see how it gives it that vintagey look. And the original swamp coolers were kind of like that. So this front part, we've killed a few bugs in there, so I need to kind of go in and clean that up. And I'm going to oil that, and I'll oil the inside as well to keep it from rusting. But looks a lot better painted than just the bare metal. Gives it that funky vibe for sure. And now I got the emblem on the front too. She's all ready to go. Got the steering adjusted, oil changed, checked the brakes, and everything's ready on this one. And I drove the bus and it didn't feel too bad. Just hope the brakes aren't too good. We'll see. I'll drive it around town the next couple days and see what we think about that. But I think these two projects are ready to rock. So I'm going to jump over on the big Ford F-250. There's a video on that. This thing tends to blow spark plugs out. And I fixed the last one. We had paid to have it done before. But this guy, I need to go through and make sure all of those are torqued where they need to be, because it's kind of making a noise again. So we're probably getting ready to lose another one. The kit is with us. If we need to fix it on the road, we should be able to, so that if we need to fix it, we can. But it's going to be towing a trailer. Hopefully we don't have any issues, but it's our rescue vehicle, so it actually needs to not be the one being rescued. So, and I need to weld the clutch on the air conditioner, just weld it so it's on all the time, because it tends to make a clatter that kind of gets annoying, and you don't have air. And I think we don't need it today, but we're going to need it probably on the way over. Well, if it's not one truck that I still can't fix, it's, we're just waiting on parts on the double cab. It's this one. We couldn't get either door open in the back, and obviously it needs to be cleaned out. So I took the latch that's up in the roof off, because it latches up here at the top. It's one of those like super cab, half cab dealy jobs. And there's a cable that runs up, and if I pull the cable, it's releasing. So I got to doing a little research down here, and that has broke. So just like a bike brake or a bike cable, it can't create pressure because this little guy's just floating around and not allowing the cable to create enough tension to pull the lock. So, you gotta fix that. And I'm guessing that's probably exactly what's wrong on the other side too. Nothing like cheap plastic to break down. And this goes in a little slot right here. So the door will open from the inside or the outside. I guess I could just leave it. We could just leave the door panel off, and we could just pull the cable. What a pain, you know? I could disconnect it up here. Might have a bike cable long enough to go the full distance. It's metal down through here, then this is even plastic. What a pain. Okay, let's see what we're gonna do to remedy that. So because I'm cheap, I put, I don't know if you can see that or not, I took the little piece that was supposed to go in this slot and put it on top of the metal slot it was supposed to fit in, and then I zip tied the sucker to this sliding rod. Still works fine, and I don't have to buy a cable. What a pain. It is a really poor design. So I've got that back up there now. Let's see if it works. Okay, will it open? That's the true test. Ha-ha! Cheap China junk. Okay, now I gotta do the other side. And you're over here on the other side, and it's got the same exact problem. So that slit that's up on top there, that this sat in, it just put too much pressure on it and it split right there. So how I fixed the other one was I put the slit like where my fingers are, and then just zip tied the whole thing. And it's probably got too much pressure now, but that's the temporary bush fix until I come up with a different plan. Anyway, it works. So for now, that's what we're going with. Well, we are all loaded up and ready to head out to Effingham. We got the hitch stuck on that one so that my mom, who is not a huge fan of these events, can ride in the Toyota, which has air conditioning. Ruby is going to be driven out there. Let's hope she makes it there and back. She's a pretty good runner, so here's to hoping, right? And Mr. D is all loaded up. Let me walk you over there. You gotta check this out. So he is definitely my kiddo. Not one, not two, but 3 rides ready to go to Effingham. And notice he's thrown in the 10-pound chunk of ladder I cut off of the ladder. That's his fire truck ladder. Even got the single wheel trailer that I built for him a long time ago thrown in there. I'll put a link here if you haven't seen that. That used to go behind his little battery bus. Now we tow it behind the little tricycle. The tricycle has VW hubcaps. You can't see that, but there. They're zip tied on. So this guy's a little clattery running down the road with those hubcaps flapping around, but he thinks it's cool. That's all that matters. Yeah. They know we're there when we get there, that's for sure. We need lots of space. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time. I don't know that you'll be able to see or not. This tree is just loaded with the cicada shells. Here's one. "17 years ago, we lived here, the same house, and this tree got pummeled. I can't believe it actually even survived. So they'll probably kill it this time." Brood X has arrived. If you've never experienced this, it's a pretty crazy phenomenon. When I was younger, I was probably, I don't know, 10 or 12. I can't remember when the last, so every 17 years, so I don't know, 2 17s ago. So yeah, I was probably 10 or 12. I went around and collected glass Tang jars full of these things. And we thought we were the coolest kids on the block, collecting all these shells. Ah, the sweet sound of Indiana summer. Gotta check these trees out. That's the lesser populated tree. Nice, huh? Those aren't berries. Those are cicadas.